With no real build-up to the pay-per-view on Smackdown, WrestleMania Backlash, for the most part, went as expected. With the exception of one match, all the matches had a predictable finish. With Michael Cole and Corey Graves repeatedly referring to Puerto Rico as a country, it was clear no titles would change hands. Titles rarely change hands on non-US soil unless it has basically been advertised, like with the crowning of a new WWE Heavyweight Champion at Night of Champions. Bianca Belair defeating Io Sky seemed like a probable outcome. With her one day away from being the longest women's champion in the modern era, she wasn't going to lose the title so close to history. Damage Control interfering in the match wasn't surprising. Bayley costing Io the match was somewhat a surprise, unless the goal is for Damage Control to break up soon. Austin Theory vs Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed also went as expected. Lashley and Reed essentially beat each other up, with some double-team action between Theory and Reed versus Lashley. Lashley would ultimately hit a spear on Reed, with Theory tossing Lashley out of the ring and picking up the scraps. Puerto Rico native Zelina Vega came out to the ring very emotional, but she was not going to win a match versus Rhea Ripley for the title. Not after Ripley just defeated Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Ripley beat Vega in the middle of the ring. After the match, Vega was still very emotional. Omos vs Seth Rollins also went as expected. Omos was clearly going to be too big for Rollins to move around the ring. The expectation was, for most of the match Omos would manhandle Rollins, eventually make a mistake, and be on the wrong side of a stomp, and that is exactly what happened. An eventual stomp off the top rope was a little surprising. With Bad Bunny being the host of Backlash, him winning the match against Damian Priest was not surprising, since it was a street fight and weapons were involved. As expected, members of the Judgment Day came out, followed by members of the LWO. A battle ensued between the two sides outside the ring, with Priest getting pinned by Bunny inside the ring. Carlito made a rare WWE appearance, and appears to be in better shape now than when he was in the WWE. With Brock Lesnar now being 45 years old, he has suddenly taken on the role of putting over other wrestlers in the WWE. Therefore, Cody Rhodes defeating him was not a surprise. It was presumed that Rhodes would have an extended stay in Suplex City, and he did. Clearly, he was not going to outmuscle Lesnar, so he was going to need a break. When the turnbuckle got exposed, that was his break. What was surprising was Lesnar bleeding like a stuck pig. However, if Cody Rhodes is going to finish his story, these are the type of matches he has to win. The surprise match of the night was the Bloodline vs Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Matt Riddle. The presumption was that the Bloodline would disintegrate, and Solo Sikoa would turn on his older brothers, the Usos. However, despite the clear tension between the three of them, that did not happen. Almost in spite of themselves, somehow they won the match. Which now leads to a more extended and drawn-out dissolution of the Bloodline. Clearly, the Bloodline will implode sooner or later, the question is just when. It is only a matter of time. That much animosity between Sikoa and his brothers can only end in turmoil. It now appears that the Usos and Roman Reigns may finally have a face-to-face this Friday on Smackdown. However, it would also not be surprising if Paul Heyman plays interference again and they still fail to have a conversation. Will the direction of the WWE become clearer this week on Raw and SmackDown with the new rosters going into effect? Only time will tell.